So we do have another busy sporting weekend ahead of us, and we've roped in a friend of the show, award-winning News 24 senior sports reporter, Khanyiso Tshwaku, joins us this morning. Khanyiso, always a pleasure having you.
Good morning, Vin. Good morning to the viewers.
All right, so let's start with Rafael Nadal calling time on his career after the Davis Cup. Perhaps just talk to what this means for the world of tennis and how it's going to be so different watching the Rafael Nadal Open, aka the French Open, without him there.
It's the painful changing of the guard. I mean, we would have grown up with the Rafael era, the Roger Federer era, the Novak Djokovic era. And we've been spoiled. We've been spoiled. Now we are facing not the sporting mortality of legends. We saw how gracefully Roger Federer moved off the scene, and now it's like I think the Olympics was probably actually painting a picture that Rafael in particular is unable to catch the checks that his body is writing. So it's painful, but you know that Father Time catches up with all in sundry in sport. But what is left us with our memories of French Open memories. Growing up through high school, I remember my Afrikaans teacher who often tell us, "Kyk no, there's no date for Nadal." So he was a big Nadal fan and probably inculcated us as kids into tennis from a rugby playing school. And then every French Open, you knew that when it came to Wimbledon, it was always going to be the Roger Federer show. But when it came to Roland Garros, when you go to Roland Garros, you always feel that there's a special place that is just for Rafa Nadal. Actually, when you go to the venue itself, it's very heavy with the Nadal presence. Were there. Actually, the World Cup Media Center was based at Roland Garros, and a lot of Rafa is there. So look, it takes a part of the French Open with him, in particular. But you also realize that sport moves on. I mean, Carlos Alcaraz is slowly but surely is muscling into that clay court space. Also, quite a bit more of a better all-round tennis player. But I think now, with Alcaraz has Rafa's longevity, will remain to be seen.
It will remain to be seen, and of course we are looking forward to seeing how he's going to do in that Davis Cup as well. Let's talk to now and move, because we did say it's going to be a busy weekend of sport. Let's talk football now, because we know South Africa is in action tonight out in Port Elizabeth at Gqeberha, taking on Congo-Brazzaville. Let's talk about that encounter, because we know Congo-Brazzaville delayed arrival in South Africa, only arriving yesterday afternoon around 4 p.m. when many were already starting to think what's going to happen if it's a no-show. What are the expectations in this encounter?
Look, firstly, I think Congo-Brazzaville have understood the implications of a no-show, and that could lead to them being disqualified from this race. I think that they would have had that in mind. Look, the late arrival is quite surprising. I mean, we saw AS Vita arriving quite late for their CAF Confederations Cup game against Stellenbosch FC. They ended up losing their game, and Stellenbosch FC subsequently enough qualified for the group stages of that particular tournament. But now it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they adapt. I suspect because they're playing at sea level, it may not be such a factor arriving late the day before a game, training. But what Velile Mnyandu actually pointed out in a series of tweets is that they did not engage in any media in any media engagements. Which, look, you don't want to look at it as skullduggery, but you also realize that, again, there's a particular way in which teams work when it comes to qualification football, whether it's World Cup qualifiers, whether it's African Cup of Nations qualifiers on the African continent. I think there should be a bit of respect measured towards your hosts where you arrive on time. It is a big game. If you look at the fact that Uganda and South Sudan are playing at 6 p.m., South Africa and Congo-Brazzaville, the Republic of Congo, are playing at 7. Those are concurrent kickoff times. So whichever of those teams are playing need to take care of their own business, because remember that South Africa then need to jet out and go play the corresponding game away, and clearly it's a high stakes qualification vault at the moment.
And of course, that encounter with Bafana Bafana will be live on SABC2 tonight. But there are also other Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers that will be taking place today. And if you download the SABC Plus app, there will be various pop-up channels that will be showing you all the encounters that are taking place today. And as we look at this, I want to also just touch on a Senegal side without an Aliou Cisse, because he's been there almost for 10 years, and to have his contract not being renewed for some or other reason. Let's talk to what that's likely going to be looking like between Senegal and Malawi.
Look, it's going to be interesting. I mean, again, one of the vagaries of African football where federations can and will make decisions that they deem, and you have to put it in inverted commas, that they deem to be in the interests of the team and interests of the federation. Whether you want to make that decision on the eve of a qualifier, I mean, you've got a month in between qualifiers. I mean, if you look at the next set of qualifiers, it's in mid-November, so you could actually wait for the qualifiers to get passed, and then after that, then you make a decision, and by the time the players then come back into camp for the next set of qualifiers, they will arrive, then adapt to the new coaching methodology that will come obviously with the new coach. But again, I mean, you actually mentioned off air the fact that Libya were given the runaround with arriving in Nigeria with their kit not arriving on time. I mean, look, again, it's one of the vagaries. I mean, I remember former Sundowns and Al Ali coach Peter Mosimane often happily to prefer playing in North Africa, where he always felt for Champions League games. He often felt that he had easier travel getting there as compared to traveling to Central and West Africa, where travel always became a bit of a dice game.
Always a bit of a dice game there. That is, of course, Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers that you can look forward to today on SABC Plus app. There will be pop-up channels of those various encounters. But for that Bafana Bafana encounter against Congo Brazzaville, you can catch that live as well on SABC2. Khanyiso, always a pleasure having you. Time always flies when we're having fun. and we haven't forgotten about the cricket. We will be talking cricket in the next hour because we do know that the Proteas women will be in action as well tomorrow against Bangladesh. That's where we leave your sport news in this hour.